Hey, great people. Thank you for joining us. I am Chidi Akunna.
And I'm Victor Akunda.
Hey, we've been on a series, Navigating the Parenting Journey. And what a journey we've had. It's been a great time, loaded sessions.
Phenomenal.
We've learned so much from every one of the great women we hosted. And we're so grateful that, for our time with them, the conversations we've had with them. For the first one, we had Aisata Nlemadim. She took us through ages 0 to 5. And then we had Dr. Amara Amugo take us through ages 5 to 10.
Fantastic.
And then we had Paula Jolubo take us through teen years.
Yes.
And what a time we've had. Today we have another great woman. And she'll be focusing on young adults, her experience with her young adults.
Absolutely.
There's so much to learn from this. We have learned so much. Feel free to share this with as many people you know.
They will thank you.
They will thank you.
I guarantee you.
Oh, yes.
I guarantee you. They will thank you.
You might just be making a lot of deposits in their parenting journey. Okay. And do feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Foundation for Family Affairs.
One of the things I like about this series is that I love autobiographies and biographies because you get to see people's real life situations and you get to glean principles that will help you on your own journey. And that's one thing that all the women we've interviewed, they've all come from various perspectives. They've all shared their own insight. They've all shared their own journeys. To be honest with you, I can tell you that what we've learned in this 1 month, 4 weeks, you need to listen to this. This will save you years and years and years from on countless or unnecessary trial and error. Let's just put it that way. Honestly, you can't afford to miss this.
Okay, let's get happy viewing.
Happy viewing.
Yes, we are live. Oh wow! And we have with us the great woman of God. we call her PK, right? But I think she's come under another hat. She'll be telling us about it. So please introduce yourself to us, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. My name is Kemi Akinfisoye. I am first of all a child of God, and next a wife, and then a mother, and then I'm a pastor. So I co-pastor my father's house with my husband, and we've done that for 12 years. And we're just grateful for the Church of God and the people of God. I thank God for the 2 sons I have. Grateful for the opportunity to be a mother, because I don't take it for granted. It's a great opportunity to be a mother, despite the ups and the downs that we'll probably talk about. But I am grateful, deeply grateful for the opportunity. Having lost babies in the past, I understand. I am so grateful to God. In a nutshell, that's who I am. I'm a social worker by profession, and I work with young people as well. That's
and you do some work with Care for the Family.
Yes, for a long time. I haven't in a while now, but I used to do a lot of work with Care for the Family. I used to speak at their conferences, and just work with them generally. Whatever they wanted me to do, then I would do. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You're such a busy woman. It's amazing how you're able to put all of this together.
Life is just busy. I think you just get on with it, don't you? You just, once you know what God has called you to do, you just get on with it. And with the power and the backing of the Holy Spirit, it makes it easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but you definitely enjoy the journey a little bit more, and much more with the Holy Ghost, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, I'm looking forward to all you have to share now, because you touched on some, soft points when you were speaking. So let's just start in a few words. How would you describe your parenting journey?
A few words. I'm going to be totally honest. If that's what you want, I'm going to be real.
Absolutely.
One of the words is exhausting. Being a mother can be exhausting. I don't mean that in a bad way, but there's just a lot you do as a mother. There's a lot I do as a mother. It's just sometimes you just think, when is this going to stop? I actually thought that by the time my children become adults, that was one of the things I should have thought about long time before now, but I didn't. That once they become adults, you are free to do what you like. And as much as you can be free, you're never free. You're never free. You're constantly thinking, hey, this one, that one, what do you do? How do you do it? Where is he? Where is, and it can be exhausting, but it can also be humbling. It's been humbling, a very humbling experience for me. Like I said earlier on when we started, I just find it so I'm so deeply appreciative of God and his power. So it humbles me that I have been able to bring up two children to the stage of adulthood by his grace. So I'm so grateful for that. The last thing I think is it's exhilarating. And when I say exhilarating, I mean the thrill of being a mother. It makes me feel happy. There's a lot of animation. I'm just full of life and excitement that
Wow.
these two young men now I can call mine through the grace of God, because of the way the Lord had helped me to monitor, to challenge, to bring up, to discipline, And now it's not so much of the discipline; it's more of the just sitting back and watching these young men, grow and watching them take on life, as it were.
I really love what you shared when you talked about it doesn't stop when they become adults. I can still remember my grandma saying to me at one point, and she said, my work doesn't stop, even though my children are now parents. I have to keep praying for you as my grandchildren, and I have to keep praying for your children. So it just, the cycle continues.
It doesn't stop. Never. Sometimes you think, oh, when is this going to actually stop? So I need my space to myself, my time, my, clearing of my head. But I said to God, you know what? You've called me to be a mother. It's a calling.
It is.
You've called me to be a mother. And with that calling comes everything around it. So, Lord, I need the strength to do this because I can't in my own. And I'm not going to lie, many times I've tried to do things in my strength, like most of us. You just think you know what you're doing and you get on with it. But when you drill deep down and you look at circumstances and situations and where you are at, you know that it's not you by a long shot. It's God. It's God. At least those of us that call on the name of the Lord. It says, call on me and I will answer you. And I will show you the great and mighty things you do not know. One of the things I say to God is, show me the great and mighty things I do not know. The mysteries that surround the lives of my children, that is going to be of benefit to them, I need to know. The mysteries that surround the life of my children, that limits them, that delays them, I need to know. And as a mother, that means you are rising up daily, hourly, however long, praying without ceasing for these children, because that's the only way God can show you. When you call upon him, he will answer.
Wow. One thing that just jumped out at me saying is intentionality. You're not leaving it to chance. You are like, I've been called. So it's beyond just the social media thing. It's a duty. It's something that I'm engaged in. It's something that I'm involved in. I'm not just looking at it from the natural point of view. I'm looking at it from the supernatural point of view, because there are things we don't know.
That's we're limited.
We're limited in our five senses, having deep spiritual insights. Wow.
I was still saying, it's just what you said about this being supernatural. I was saying to one of my friends recently during the week that we have to be supernatural to do supernatural things. Being a mother called by God, because not everybody that knows God the way we do, being a mother called by God means you have to be a supernatural being. You always have to walk in the supernatural. And even at that, sometimes we get it wrong, we still don't, we still,
Mhm.
so can you imagine if we're not walking with the Spirit by our side? How disastrous being a mother could be. But with intentionality and talking to God constantly. Oh my word, have I talked to God constantly about my children? Absolutely yes. In the last few years, because when they're adults, they come with a different dynamic, completely different dynamic. Because they're now adults, they're expected to take decisions on their own, they're expected to do things you have taught them since they were young. When they're younger, you do things for them all the time. When they grow older, there's an expectation that they now take those things and run with it. And so when your children don't run with it, or you feel that what's going on with this child? Why is this child slowing down? You then have to. So I think it's more, and you have to give them that space at the same time. Help them to get to where they need to be. And that is not always easy because they have different ideas from what you have.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'm loving this. You're dropping a lot already. There's so much to glean from what you shared so far. Okay. So what would you say has been the most rewarding part as a mother?
The most rewarding part. I have to think very carefully about that. I think one of the greatest rewards for me is watching my children graduate from university. It may not. So for some certain people, it's achievements is not a big deal. Graduation was a big deal for me because I know what I went through before they got to that point. So that's one of the rewarding things. Another rewarding thing is just watching this. I have two of them. So just watching these babies that I used to carry, and cradle. You understand what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a son who you are still cradling.
Yes, ma'am.
Watching these babies cradle that I used to cradle become adults. And you think, when did they run so far? When did they get to this point? How did they get to that point? I've Mother's Day recently, I was reminiscing, I was thinking deeply about the role of a mother. I don't know why this year I just decided to reflect on the role of a mother. And many things came up for me, because we just think as mothers, we have these babies, and once we have them, okay, the babies are here. Now, what do we do with the babies? We train them, train up a child in the way it should go. And, all those lovely Bible passages come to mind, and you do your best to make sure that this child God has given you turns out to be better than you. That's the plan. But I thought about it very deeply, and one of the things I came up with was this intentionality of passing down our faith to the next generation. And I thought to myself, how did my mother pass her faith to me? How did I come to be who I am today? How am I now taking my own faith and passing it on to the next generation? God was pleased with Abraham because he said he knows him. He will instruct his children after him. What I kind of thought about was, okay, Abraham instructed his children after him. What if the children didn't go down that path of the instructions you have given? How do you then manage that? And maybe because of what has happened to me recently as well, I just thought, okay, this faith has been passed down. But what we need is God to help us, to help our children, not even us, to help our children understand the faith as we pass it on. Because many of our children take on our faith. They take on the faith of mom and dad. Or they go to church, we'll follow them. They do Christian programs, we'll follow them. But really, that faith hasn't sat deep within their hearts. And I think one of my greatest joys is passing on my faith intentionally to my children. Now, whether they've taken that on or not is another matter and is left to them and to God to cement that. but intentionally I passed on my faith. And so that didn't allow me do things I shouldn't do because I was aware that there were these beings watching all the
Awesome.
time.
Oh, wow. Wow. Called you to a higher standard.
Yeah, and that can be a very tough place to walk.
Mm,
Very tough place to walk because we don't know it all. I certainly don't know it all. And when I look at my life, my first son will be 27. When I look at the last 27 years,
wow.
I've got it wrong in certain areas, no doubt about that.
Mm,
But I've also got it right too. And I pat myself on the back.
awesome.
I actually give myself a pat on the back for being a good mother. Otherwise, what the devil does is he steals your joy.
Yes.
Think
Yes.
makes you think that, oh, if only your eyes were open in this area, or if only
Mm,
the light had shone in this darkness in this
mm,
area, you'll be thinking, oh, and then you start to think, where did I get it wrong? No, he has given me a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And so I choose deliberately to say I have been a good mother.
mm. Wow. Wow. I think it's obvious.
No,
You've
it's
been a
very
good
obvious.
mother. There's so much to learn from you.
Very obvious.
Thank you.
You know, one key thing about that I've seen that mothers sometimes judge themselves so much.
Yeah.
And I see this, I see this in my own mother as
Mm,
well. I see
mm,
that, despite the fact that the way most of us, all of us have turned out, she still feels like she's not enough. I'm like,
mm,
your
mm,
first child is almost going to be 50, just in short. You still
mm,
feeling, she's still calling, she's still. So
mm,
it's mothers don't get to relax, get to
Mm,
say, well done to themselves. So this, what you said, is so powerful
mm,
because there is this voice. I don't know. I wrote about it. I said there's this voice inside the head. Sometimes in our community, your child does something, everybody's looking at you one funny way.
your inner voice.
Yeah, sometimes inner voice. Sometimes our community, the
mm.
community where we grow up, everybody's looking at you. Why is your child crying?
Yeah,
Ah, why is he doing this? What? He's a toddler. He's supposed to cry.
exactly.
Why are they not doing this now? Why are they? I remember when I was a teenager, just about to get into university. I remember this woman. Anytime I come around, she say, "Where are you now?" I used to dread that question. She will practically, honestly, more like just unravel you. Oh, you've not got into university. Oh, you are still waiting. She was constantly comparing us with her
Mm,
children and this. And I look back now, I was like, so anytime I see her, I just,
yeah.
you know, because I had to wait for 1 year before I got into university.
Mm,
I was like, I didn't want to see her. So sometimes the community where we grow up also have this way of judging mothers that you're never enough, no matter how much you've done. You still feel like, oh, here, here. So saying it that you pat yourself on my word, that is
we need the
intentional.
confidence of God, we need the confidence
Wow.
of God to be able to. I've made up my mind. Nobody is going to make me feel less than I am
Mm.
because I am created in the image of God. The image of God is perfect. The image of God is astounding. Why would I allow people to make me feel bad? And I've put that into my children. Don't allow anyone to make you feel less than you are. Remember Paul saying that to Timothy. Don't let
Yes.
people cheat you because you are young.
Mm,
People will do things that you cannot, you have no control over, but you have control over yourself. People will say things that you don't like to hear. People will say things that naturally will put you down. I said earlier, you've got to be a supernatural being to walk in the supernatural. Once you know Christ is supernatural, I'm created in his image. So I am a supernatural being. And I will not allow people to make mess of me or my children. And I will protect them that way because that's what a mother does.
mm,
That's what a mother does. A mother
yes.
protects.
Yes.
A mother protects. That's what a mother does.
Yes. Oh wow, I'm loving this. Okay, okay. I think this would just lead us into the next question.
Mm.
How has motherhood changed you as a person?
What an experience. I call it the motherhood experience. Who would have thought Kemi Akinfisoye? When I was growing up, I always say to people, I was okay not to be married. I was very tomboyish. I was just living life. But when God brought my husband my way, I knew that was the man God had ordained for me to marry. And after that came what? Motherhood. It's the greatest adventure I've ever had. The greatest adventure I've ever had. And I have put a lot of thought into saying that. It doesn't mean that I've not had ups and downs. Certainly, there has been ups and downs like everybody else. But I wouldn't have asked for it any other way, because what it's done for me is that God has made me who I am today. One, He has made me strong through it all. Because if I don't have the experiences I have as a mother, where else would I experience those things? Where else could I have? How else could God have taught me a lot of things along this my journey of motherhood? It's definitely made me stronger. It's given me a true sense of worth and purpose. Motherhood, it shifted my priorities. I told you I was like a tomboy when I was growing up, and I just wanted I was okay to be what I wanted to be at the time. As an unbeliever, I wasn't doing badly. I just wanted to be myself, but shifted my priorities. When you carry that first child in your hands,
Hmm.
things completely change. You think, okay, I'm now responsible for this one. And whatever this one turns out to be, God has given me the responsibilities. It's a gift. He's given me, it's my heritage for me to. God is saying, let me see what you will do with this one.
Hmm.
Let me see how you will do it with me by your side. Let's see how you will do it. My heart just bursts for love every time I think about the experience of motherhood, of being a mother to two sons. We all have our different experiences. Some people have girls, some people have a boy and a girl, some people have two boys, three boys, 10 boys, and one girl. I have two boys. That's a different experience from somebody who has brought up girls. And I always say God knew the reason why He gave me boys. I don't know why He didn't give me a girl. Would I have loved one? Absolutely yes. But He chose not to. That was my own journey. That is my own experience. And I have loved it every minute of the way. I call it the motherhood experience, the greatest adventure I have ever had.
Awesome.
Man,
Awesome.
the greatest adventure. Because
Yes.
you are entering into it without a map. You are entering into it with just some signposts here and there. Different people
Yeah.
will tell you different things. Sometimes they tell you conflicting things. We know from our own experience when we
Yes.
had our son, oh, do this. Or another said, we say, don't do this. Oh, bathing. The doctor said, don't bathe him. Oh my word. It was a lot of information.
That's why we need the Holy Spirit, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Mm.
That's why we need the Holy Spirit. I remember when the boys were growing up and I put them in a particular school, some people said, oh, you don't put them in that school. That school is this, that school is that. And maybe the school wasn't the greatest of schools. However, for my children, it turned out to be a roadmap for their lives. Maybe the school didn't suit everyone. And I remember my husband and I saying, look, all these things that everybody's telling us is out of the goodness of their hearts,
Yes.
because of their own experiences too,
Mm.
or maybe other people's experiences. And we decided we would pray and allow God to show us the school. They went to that school, they came out, and they are okay. They are okay. They are okay. So before God, they are okay.
Wow.
Who is somebody to say they are not okay?
Wow.
If before God they are okay. That's
Mm.
that's the essence of it all. For me, at least, that was the essence of it all.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So you told us you used to be a tomboy. So I don't know how you prepared you were for motherhood, even though you still does it was an adventure. It's been an adventure. What's one thing you wish you knew before becoming a mother?
I wish I knew that raising children is full of surprises. Oh,
Okay.
Nobody, you can't know until you are in it.
Hmm.
Full of all sorts of
That's
surprises.
true.
The good, the very good, the bad, the ugly, the just surprises. So when you wake up in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, nowadays I say, God, let there be light. That has been my prayer for the last 3 or 4 months. Let there be light. Because when there's light, it shines in the darkness. So you can see what the day will be like, what your children are going to do. Or, I'm saying constantly, God, show me, show me. I just need the direction of the Holy Spirit. I wish I knew. Parenting is hard work. Parenting is hard work. Parenting is not. It's not something you wake up in the morning and think, okay, I can. I think it was Victor that said, you don't have any manual anywhere. If you had the manual somewhere that says, okay, on the 26th of March, you wake up, this is what you need to do to get this child to where they need to get to on this 26th of March. Will you not carry the manual? You carry it now. And you look, okay, this is what the manual is saying today that I need to do with them. But you don't have it anywhere. You don't know what they're going to wake up with. You don't know what the day is going to be like, except you commit it into the hands of the Lord. The only manual is the Bible. And even that Bible, you've got to read it to have understanding and interpretation for the life of your child. If you have 10 children, they're all different. I have 2. I admire mothers that have more. By the time I had Anu, I told God, it's enough. Because you have to constantly, for this one, you think about that one. For that one, it's a different thing because they're different. So it's I find it's the most physically, the most mentally and emotionally draining thing any woman will ever experience. It will test you in every possible way, motherhood, and it requires endless patience. So your patience, that if people don't have that fruit of the spirit out of the 9, patience. Patience is one fruit of the spirit that we must pray for out of the whole 9. No, we have to pray for patience when you are bringing up children. It will test you to the very limits. That's when you know who you are. How do you know? How do you know if you have patience if your patience is not tested? Ask your children will test your patience to the limits. So, but yeah.
Fantastic. I was just going to say, I really forgot my line of thought. What you said that just made me crack up so much. How do you know you have patience if your patience are not be tested? Honestly. Yeah, what I was going to say is that understanding and accepting the fact that each of your child, each of them are different.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes it's just an unconscious thing that parents just think that, oh, they're all the same, whatever this one does, they'll just no different. They are completely different. So accepting that and building a strategy for that, very powerful. So
I
you just know
made
that
up my mind, and I include my husband in this because we parent together.
Yes.
A long time ago, that we were not going to love one more than the other. And I can proudly say, this is going out anyway. I can proudly say, if you ask my boys, they will tell you, I intentionally made sure I didn't love one more than the other. Now, do we love them differently? Yes. Because they come with different things. One is more sociable than the other. I can't even begin to tell you the differences between my boys on the tip of my fingers. One speaks his mind more than the other. There's all sorts of things, but I've come to learn to love them where they're at. So I've had people compare my children, my own children, not any other person's children. So this one is like this. I will fight to get people to stop comparing my children. It's one of the greatest things that does my head in, because I just think, why? Why? If you accept one for who he is and you accept the other one for who he is, there's no need for comparison. They have come separately and they will do things differently. It's as simple as that. You know, some of us growing up back in the day, 70s, 80s, 90s, we didn't like it. We didn't like it. It was a common thing then. And God
Mm,
bless the hearts of our parents.
mm,
That was how they knew how to do it best. We did
mm,
not like it. So why do we think we have to meet it? It was one thing my husband and I intentionally thought, no, we're going to bring different values to our family. We're going to love them differently. And I
mm,
remember saying to someone, I can't remember whether it was my sister, a long time ago. I said, because my mom had 3 children, it's easy because she had 3 children to pick the one. The rest of the two now bond together because they feel, oh, okay, this is mom's favorite, let's bond together that way. But I have only 2. How will I now put that? Because whether you know it or not, your children know
Yeah.
the one that
mm,
is the favorite. You may not say it out with your mouth, but they know because you act it even without your knowing. I was so intentional about that because it can wedge relationships between your children if you're not careful.
Mm.
And so I'm grateful
Wow.
today that that happened because I can see the two of them, how they bounce off each other, how they support each other, even in trials and tribulations,
Mm.
how they have been there for one another. So that gladdens my heart as a mother. It does.
Wow.
yeah. I wanted to ask a follow-up question. How does that look in practical terms, in terms of loving them differently? Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah. So for mine, the example that I have really is I have one who is a social butterfly. He will go, friendships, da da da. He has them everywhere. The other one, if you leave him in his room for 24 hours, he's okay. So I would go to his room, have conversations with him, talk to him. What I do is meet them where they're at. So
Mm,
go in and have conversations. Sometimes I may suggest, so why don't you have friends? Why don't you want to go out? And when he says, Mom, this is just me, just this is I don't go further. I don't force it down them. Now, do I feel that him having friends may be of benefit to him? Absolutely, yes. But he's chosen his path. He has friends. He just doesn't go out of his way to do things like that. So encourage him where he is. For the other one that goes out and you feel that, sometimes you need to pull this one back.
mm, mm,
But, you have that
mm,
conversation as well. Let's,
mm,
we have conversations. Conversations are so key. Open, honest conversations. And then I don't compare because I know my children don't like it too. I've done it once or twice. Yeah, to be honest, it must have been twice. And it backfired. It backfired on me. And the one who doesn't like it said to me, why would you be comparing us? What's that for? You don't do it. Why? But at that point, I think I was trying to gratify my own. I wanted to be right about what I was saying. But it just does more damage. So I don't ever do it. I don't do it. It's one thing I don't do. Even if I'm thinking it, my brother and my sister, I will not say it out because I know it would do more damage
Mm.
than not. You just try and coax, you try and mentor, you try
mm.
and talk, you try and you love. Hugs does wonderful things. I hug my boys all the time. They're men now, all the time, so that they can talk to you, I guess.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So now let's say you told us your first is almost 27. So you
Yeah.
have young adults there.
Yeah.
Now focusing on your experience with them as young adults, what challenges have you encountered? And what would you have done differently if you had to do it all over again?
Mm. Hmm. Challenges that I've encountered. I'm going to be very general
Yeah.
about some of the, if you don't mind.
No,
There's
That's
that's
been all
fine.
sorts,
absolutely fine.
there's been all sorts of challenges. There's some I'm not at liberty to share yet. But the general thing that I found that I struggled with is this thing of, how do I put it? This thing of not allowing them to experience struggles on their own.
Mm.
when they were growing up. So as a result of that, they can hardly overcome adversity on their own now.
Mm.
I hope I'm making sense to you.
Yes. Yes.
So when I was growing up, I became very independent very quickly because even though my mother was there, dad wasn't. And so there was a lot I had to grow up quickly to do. I had to mature very quickly, mature in everything because mom couldn't do everything on her own. So I remember us selling newspapers. I had an uncle that worked at the news Concord at the time. So bring newspapers. We were selling newspapers to make money for the family. We just did things. Our children of nowadays can't. There is absolutely zero resilience
Mm.
to be able to do things. So I think that has been my struggle. It has been my challenge. That I've sat down this year to think about it because sometimes you think, oh gosh, where did I get this wrong? Things will happen, and you just think, how did we even get to this point? And I remember my husband asks that question all the time. Now, when he looks at our children, and I'm talking about our children and other children, we've had the privileges of, pastoring other young people and mentoring young people to adulthood at the moment. It's just they struggle. So when adversity will come, all of us will experience adversity unless we want to fool ourselves. The ability to think it through, the ability to manage it, the ability to take decisions, good decisions that would help them in the future, I find they struggle. They struggle. So I said to God, help me to change my tactics. I am still a mother because I'm still here. And I still have the opportunity to teach them whilst they are still with me, whether they're under my roof or not. I still have the influence of a mother. Help me to teach them how they can overcome adversity on their own. Because our children, particularly the ones that are growing up here in the UK, I remember one of my sons saying to me, we don't have enemies. It's you people that have enemies. This enemy that you keep so you keep saying, oh, the enemy, the enemy. I had to think deeply to even respond. It's not physical enemies that we're talking about. We're talking about the arch enemy, Satan. Satan is the one that controls many things that we do. He said, it's the way you pray about enemies. I said, how do I pray? I said, you've not been to places where they pray about enemies to just go. I'm just doing what the Bible. But this is the thinking of our children. That understanding is not there. So sometimes you think, okay, where did we get this wrong? How come? So little things, my husband will say, let them do it. Let them. So now I'm saying to people, even if your children are living in your house, let them pay their way through. Because we as Africans, we don't do that because of where we are coming from. I didn't pay my way through until I was 23 when I got married. And my mom, that was what they did then. Things are changing. If you don't allow them to, how do they understand what to do? When it's now time to, so my children are paying their way through living in my house. It may be little things like, paying for the garden to be done. That's your responsibility. Pay for it. I don't want to know. Just pay for it. Pay for food in the house. Whether it's electricity, you want them, let them pay for something. They're not going to pay the mortgage. And if you want them to partly pay the mortgage, if that's what God is leading you to do, teach them how to do it. Otherwise, they're not going to be resilient enough to know that when they don't have money, for instance, what do we do? That's one of the things that I found challenging. I'm talking about my life because I think I didn't do that enough in any way, shape, or form. My children are so sheltered. They are so sheltered that we forget to teach them some of the things that we went through in our own way. Ask God to show you. Ask God to show you what you need to see. Let there be light. Because you know what? Good intentions don't always get good results.
That's
Good, good intentions don't always get good results. Whether you're a child of God or not. Good intentions it doesn't always get good results. This is one of the things I have learned in this journey. Despite all my good intentions. I mean, don't you have good intentions for your son? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes.
The reality of life
Oh,
is that it doesn't always get good results.
man,
So,
that's something. Good intention of all this is good. So, because sometimes
mm,
you're like, oh, I'm being sincere here. I'm being sincere. You can be sincerely wrong. You can
Yeah.
be sincere and have the wrong strategy or have a wrong outcome.
yes. Yes.
Oh my word.
Mm, mm.
Oh my word. There was a time I was watching a video on grits, and it's something that I've seen, and which is just what you have pointed out now, that us as parents, particularly those of us who are raising children, our children in the developed world,
Yeah.
where structures and things that make us very resilient, everything has been provided for.
Mm.
So I absolutely agree with that. It's an area that we need to be intentional about. And so sometimes we have it at the back of our mind, oh, I suffered. Oh, I don't want my children to
Yeah.
go through this suffering.
Mm.
But not realizing that some of those suffering have their own good intention. It helps you
Absolutely.
to know how to, for example, because of how I was raised, it helped me
Mm.
to know how to select good friends.
Mm.
Because I
Yeah.
saw how choosing the wrong friends just went, some of my people that I grew up with, they just
Yeah.
went down the wrong,
Mm-hmm.
So I learned from other people's experience that, you know what, I saw my elder brothers, I saw some mistake they made. I was like, I cannot make this kind of mistake. I
Mm-hmm.
saw how it sets, different things. So it's very powerful that you are sharing this for any parent across the globe, particularly parents who have come into some form of comfort. There's a
Mm.
tendency that
Yeah.
we begin to shelter our children,
Absolutely.
and we take away something from them that they are supposed to use to survive while we are not,
Yeah.
when we are not there.
So allow them to
Wow.
experience struggles on their own.
Wow.
Allow them to, because struggles, there will always be struggles.
Hmm.
Allow them to experience it. Allow them to go through it. Allow them, and with your guidance,
Hmm.
they will come out on the. Don't take it from them. Don't.
Hmm.
And that's what I certainly did. I take
Hmm.
the struggle from them. I do it for them, and then so they don't understand the consequence, or they don't understand the benefit.
Hmm.
So once they become adults, and then you start to look at them and think, oh my word, what have I done? I should have just, maybe that would have. But there's restoration. There's always
Absolutely.
Yes.
restoration in
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
always restoration in Jesus.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's a message of hope for someone.
Man.
Yeah.
Yes,
Always restoration in
there
Jesus.
is. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. We're enjoying this.
Oh my God.
There's so much. It's
Cool.
loaded. It's loaded. And I think
Wow.
viewers, you need to share this with as many
This
people
is
as
cool.
possible.
Absolutely.
There's so much to learn from this. Okay, let's talk about what are you finding exciting? What are some of the things you find exciting in these things? With your boys as young adults, what are some of the things you're finding exciting?
I find it exciting that they've grown up, they're maturing, they begin to take on the world as it is. They're
Mm,
going out to work. The work ethics that we had, we've passed it
mm,
on to them. It's not just about going out to work, it's about actually understanding that, what. So we have conversations about finances, the struggles we went through. They are not going through it because we shared it with them along the way.
Hmm.
So one of the things we did was, when we were in debt, thank goodness, Lord, thank you, Jesus, we're no longer in debt. When we were in debt, we explained it to them
Wow.
at their level at the
Hmm.
time. We explained, this is why we can't have holidays. This is why we can't do this, and this is why we can't do that. But not shying away from telling them we made the mistakes and we were sorry that they had to go through this because of our own mistakes. And so, because we shared that with them, they have now seen that for them not to make mistakes with their own,
oh,
Hmm.
yes.
there are things that they have to put in place now. So I love that, just watching them, just
Mm,
watching them say some things to me. There's some things that your children will say to you. And like the Bible says that Mary pondered, kept those things in her heart
Hmm.
about Jesus and pondered them. There's so many moments like that in my family where my boys will say things to me and I will just keep it in my heart and ponder upon it and just thank the Lord that, you know what, these boys have taken on this thing that myself and my husband have deliberately passed on to them. You know, I, as a mother, I know I have great influence over my boys. And I don't joke with it, because my influence can be positive or it can be negative. And so the positive influence that I pass on to them, I find it exciting when they come back with things and I see myself speaking in them. I see what I have done somewhere playing through them. So I find that exciting, and I'm looking forward to the future. I really am looking forward to their future and what the future holds for them and for my husband and I, because before we know it, we are sure that we will be empty, completely empty nesters.
Wow, fantastic.
I like what you just said about influence could be positive or negative.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
remember the conversation I had with you one time. We were going for an event, and you asked the question. I think you were so thoughtful about something, and it just flowed out. And you said, "Oh, what was that? Putin, the president of Russia." You're like, Putin had a mother.
Yeah, I remember that.
How does she feel? How, if she were alive, how would she feel to see that, to see what her son is doing?
Yeah.
So you remember that conversation?
And that's the president of a whole nation. What more influence can you have?
Yes.
You know, a mother joyful that I have a son who is a president. But look at what it has cost the world. If she was here, she would have thought, really? Where did I go wrong? How? How did this happen? So, you know, you've got to be intentional about being the good influencer in the life of your children. I don't know what his life was like, but we can see what is happening in the world now. You just think one day this child must have been born and they must have been rejoicing. We have a male son, we have a this, we have a that. But nobody thinks about the future. And we're now in the future. You know, and I want to always think about the future, what my children can become. And if they do become presidents, and if they do become what somebody said to me, this your son, one of my sons will become an Obama someday. And I kept that in my heart. You know, why did that person compare this my son to Obama? Because of the good things they had seen Obama do. And it was just, I was just grateful to God that somebody could say that about my son. Now, if I hadn't had influence over that son, they wouldn't have been able to say that to me. That person thought they were saying it about my son, but I thought about my role in all of that. You know.
Fantastic. There's something we used to say that parenting is leadership. And leadership is basically influencing the next generation. You know, shaping those who create the society we are going to be. Parenting, in a way, is actually nation building, because you are building a nation of the next generation. I mean, I work with young people. I've seen different. You can tell the background that most of them came from. I mean, from high school to university, you can tell the influence of the people around them, how it's even helping them to learn or not to learn, how they are, some of them, you know. So it's a whole lot, honestly. To say what you said is so you have a lot of clarity around parenting. So having influence over them, because once we don't realize that we have influence over them, we get carried away with our own busy lives.
Absolutely.
When you have these young people who are just watching how you're managing your emotion, watching how you're handling difficult situations, and for you to be vulnerable enough to say, this is where we have gotten it wrong. This is how this is impacting us. There is no more other teaching than that. We call it case study in business school, where you bring a real life scenario to teach somebody else that have not been in that space, to say, this is the decision that was made, this is how it turned out well, this is how you should make a different decision using this kind of models. This is beautiful way of teaching people that is transformational. Fantastic. Thank you so much, ma, for sharing.
We thank God.
Okay, so what advice do you have for new moms?
Take things easy with your children. And I don't say that lightly. Your children will be okay. You know, just take things easy. Don't There's something we say in Yoruba. I can't even say it. I'm not going to say it here, but it's don't take everything, hard. Everything doesn't have to be hard and harsh, and allow them to explore, allow them to, to do the things that you didn't get to do. Allow them, just allow them. And as much as we want them to do well in life, I was talking about graduation earlier, that was one of the, I don't have the time to explore what graduation means to me as a mother here, but in my mind, I'd always thought, oh, my kids will be this, and my kids will be that, and my kids will be this. And so when one of my young people, my children, was having problems with education, I thought, did I push him too hard? What was it about this whole thing that made me want him to be this, and make him want to maybe please me? And I thought to myself, you know what? Whatever this boy even says he wants to become, I'm okay with it. You've got to get to that point where you are okay with whatever God has decided that your children will become, not what you have decided they will become. And it's because of the upbringing we've had, and I don't knock that, because our parents, like I always say, they had the best intentions in their hearts for us, and they went about it the best way they could. They didn't have a manual either, but for us, we're a different generation, and we know things differently. So encourage them to be what they want to be. But for new moms, just take life easy and enjoy the journey. And also, my last advice for new moms: be intentional about bringing up your children. Don't just wake up one morning and find out they are not what you expected them to be, because you haven't been intentional about bringing them up. Have fun with them. Have so much fun with them. My son said something on Mother's Day. He was one of those that had to speak in church on Mother's Day. I didn't know he was going to speak, but he did. And I was standing at the altar as a pastor, inviting them, the ones that had been chosen to come and speak. And so he was the last person that spoke. And we hugged, kind of, because I was asking the young people. I said, so who is your mother? Tell the world who your mother is. So, of course, when my son came up, I then went, and who is your mother? And everybody laughed. And he said, one thing he knows about me is that me and his dad have always said, there's nothing you can do in this world that you can't come back to tell us. Come back and tell us. He then said, my brother and I have put that to the test. We have put it to the test. And every time we put it to the test, they have not failed us. So what he was saying was, whatever they do, they can come back and tell us they have put it to the test, no matter how difficult that situation is. Because some people will say, oh, come and tell us. And when they come, your actions will show that you're not, what? How can you? Da, 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 da. But whenever they come back, we always find the solution together to the problem. That's what, yeah. So take it easy and help your children achieve what they ought to achieve, no matter what it is.
Unconditional.
Yeah.
They have put it, but no matter what you do, we will always say they've put it in. Unconditional love. Wow, man, what a way to finish this.
Wow.
This is, I need to go and watch this again.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you were. Oh, that's a realm you flow in, which I know you know, because you are a spiritual woman of God. You flow in a certain pedestal. You come with a depth of insights. And you are so, you know the process, because parenting is a process. Something I've also learned from you, that don't just wake up one day and say you don't like how they have turned out. Be intentional about the process you have put in place. because those processes is what you produce. Like cooking. If you don't get the process right, the
Yeah.
final outcome, you have to get the process right. There's a
Yeah.
particular time where my wife was teaching me to make there's a particular time to put something. If you put it too early, the tomato will soak oil. So it will get the right result. So you have to get some things right.
Yeah.
Man. Thank you so much, man, for
Thanks a
investing
lot.
time in parents, because we don't know who is going to watch this.
Yeah.
We don't know who will share this, but we
a
know
rich experience.
rich experience for us who are also on this journey ourselves.
Yeah, thank
You are
God.
way years ahead of us. So we are learning from the wealth of experience, and we watch you from afar up close.
Yeah.
Everything you said, it's exactly the way it is. We just want to appreciate you for being in our
Thank
life.
you so very much for
Thank
having
you so
me.
much, man.
I have enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank
man.
you so much, ma'am.
Wow.
So viewers, please feel free to follow her. We'll leave her details in the description box. If you want to contact her about anything, please feel free to do so. I'm sure she'll be happy
I will.
Yes, I'm sure she'll be happy to have you.
Thank you so much, ma. And until we come your way again.
On that note, we'll say goodbye.
God bless you. Bye.
Bless you.